Yes, here we go. Better unmute myself. Welcome aboard the bus. We're going to do we Ask the Bus session, and the big man's back. He's holidays. He's back fighting fit for the old COVID, and he's sporting the new Celtic tap as well, which has a normal size badge on it. We've been going through in the WhatsApp group chat, Steve-O, tonight, the strange levels of the badges, even on the JD Sports advert. Like, I think it was junior tops, but even then, the badges seem to be all off-piece. Your one is looking bang on the money, mate. I've got to say, it's my favourite Celtic home top in years. I think it's the best that Adidas have done. But welcome back, big man. How the devil are you?
Decent, mate. Aye. I was away on holiday, as we all know, and I came back and I was feeling a bit like dog shit, and I had that virus of the past called COVID. But unlike most folk, I wasn't coughing and spluttering. I was shitting and spewing, so it is what it is, you know. But I'm glad. I'm feeling better.
Good, mate. Good. We have got a busy bus already. There's 133 of you wonderful Celtic fans watching already. If you've not, hit the like button, hit the share button, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe and join the other 4,000 that have now became Bhoycie Bus subscribers. We did predict that we would hit the 4,000 mark before the new season kicked off, and we have done so. So a massive thank you to you all. That is exactly what I was hoping for. I like it when I make a wee sort of target and it happens. Not that I'm a very target-driven person in life, but when it comes to numbers, I'm like, 4,000 would be good. Doesn't mean really anything, but it just looks cool. 4K all the way. The bus has done it. If you want to become a member, like so many have as well, then please do so. It is $1.99 a month. You can join the likes of Douglas Margison, Brown Warrior, Brian McCabe, Patrick McLaughlin, Monty, and our latest member, Robot Rock. So a massive thank you to all you for doing that. It's $1.99. It just keeps the bus on the road. As you know, Steve-O, I did say in the group chat there's going to be, with a very limited revenue out with, you know, what pays for all these subscriptions and that, I'll be dishing out gifts to each of the contributors every 2 weeks. We're going to be doing that going forward as well. Phil McGinley got a wee voucher last week, so don't worry. Didn't let, you know, the fact that it's called the Bhoycie Bus fool you and thinking this is a mad ego trip. We will be dishing out whatever's left between us all in various forms. I will be creative with the prizes as well. Do you know what I mean? There'll be a wee bit of banter involved as the season goes on. But yes, a massive thank you to all you who have done all that. But let's talk about Celtic more importantly. Tonight was the last friendly before we get down, or let's get to work, as Brendan said. Well, work arrives this weekend. Tonight I thought was a real tough test. I thought they were a far superior team, Steve, to Wolves at the weekend. I've got to be honest on that. I thought, and I know you'll think that I'm saying this because they scored after 90 seconds. I thought after 60 seconds, I went, they're a team, by the way. They just looked really neat and tidy the way they played. The passing was so nice. A bit of zip to it all. A lot more precision than we've seen from that Wolves team as well, who I don't know how good a test they were with hindsight, having watched Athletic Bilbao tonight. But Celtic worked their way up worked their way into the game at the start, though. Yeah, but in fact, we'll get into all that. Firstly, let's talk about the opposition tonight. That was a real test, and that gives us more of a flavour of what lies in stake in the Champions League, albeit they're not a Champions League side, but that was far more of a warm-up for that sort of competition, I would have said, Steve-O.
I mean, as Roger says, with the pre-season, it's all about building. It was a step up, step up, step up. Where the friendly or the testimonial, as it was, fell is sort of neither here nor there. It's maybe just chance, but it was abundantly clear that they were a better team. They were a level up. I thought in terms of our performance, I was sort of flashing in there. I was doing a wee bit of sort of parenting, running about and stuff. But the most bulky I did see, and what I did see, for us, certainly for our sort of standpoint where we run the game, I thought it was very much the playground kick around that you tend to get from a sort of testimonial match. I thought that they looked a wee bit more up for it than certainly some of our guys did. We certainly looked a wee bit disjointed and what have you, but you started to get more of a flavour, I think, in the second half, kind of funnily, as opposed to the first half. And the second half seemed far more competitive than the first did. But no, you could see that they were at that step up. I think there was some positives to take out of it, as we'll get into. I think, a few changes and come back from goals going down. Maybe that's something that we might not have done previously. So it was good to see, and you could see that with a similar sort of style of play, but it was more definitively Rodgers looking by my eyes. And we'll get on to guys, the likes of Bernabei, for example. It was almost playing like more of a straight up left back role, which I thought suited him better as opposed to this inverted thing. So there was a lot to take away from it, I thought.
There was a lot to take away from it. I agree with that. There was interesting takes as well because weirdly, was it going to be a game of two halves? Yes, Brendan told us there'd be two different 11s playing essentially, first half and second half. The one thing we didn't think when we looked at that first half team, you never thought the second half team would look more cohesive and actually
Probably not, no.
A bit of an improvement, Steve-O. I was quite impressed by what I seen in the second half, more than I was in the first. The first half, I think, particularly the first 20, 25 minutes, left me more questions than answers. I thought that would be like the sort of the display we would see from the first half team was give you that flavour for what to come, what was to come in this new season. And that would be all the work that's been done so far in the pre-season camps, sort of coming together and looking as close to the season beginning article. I'm not going to say the finished article because that takes far longer, but as close to the what we can expect and to build from. Actually, it seemed way off it to me, like in terms of individual performances. I thought Cameron Carter-Vickers, the one who played zero other pre-season minutes, came in and looked like he'd went back to where he left off last season. Hatate seemed to me to be trying to do this pass round the corner without looking sort of thing. I think he did it twice and gave it away. The first time obviously led to a goal for Bilbao. But not just that, he also seemed to be wanting to be overindulgent on the ball at times, which was strange because he's normally he's so clever. I know he did go on and score a brilliant goal. But yeah, he seemed to sort of epitomise the strange thing. We've seen Kwon doing step overs, or dummying, I should say, a pass, where it just seemed bizarre. We've seen Hatate try to do a mad sort of shimmy when he had his back, where he's facing his own goal, lost the ball. No, Iwata that was, sorry. Iwata, Kwon, Hatate, all involved in moments of self-indulgence, Steve-O, in that first half, and just wasn't quite what I'd expected from the guys that I think, when you look at the first half team, you would maybe expect them to be the ones that are more likely to start on the opening day.
I'm kind of conflicted a wee bit about that whole sort of first half performance, and particularly, as you say, for guys that are more than likely going to start the weekend. There's two schools I thought about it. As I said, when we kicked off, it looked very much first half that glorified kick around that you tend to get from a testimonial, more so from us, as I said, than Atletico or Athletic. We were in that kind of almost jovial, and she says, doing stupid stuff like step overs, that kind of like fun and games. Oh, it's a testimonial, and I think that I'm kind of maybe putting it down to that a wee bit more than guys just being straight up pish. I think it was, we're round the corner. season's kicking off at the weekend, and if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody in that starting lineup really wanted to put themselves out there and put in probably the kind of performance where they might get hot, they might do anything, and they're trying stupid things, and it was a bit out of sorts. Certain guys, as you say, Carter Vickers, he has to come in and he has to play his game. He has to do what he's used to doing because he's not had any game time whatsoever, so you can't have that liberty fucking around. You know what I mean? Tomoki at right back, we spoke about it in the group chat. There's a lot to be desired there. Do you know what I mean? And Hatate and Kwon, really out of sorts, really disjointed. So I'm just putting it down to that, to be honest. And I think that's probably why they were sacrificed. Where maybe Rodgers has went like that. Listen, I know this is a testimonial, guys, but come on, you need to be at least trying, because you're just farting about. But second half, I think the guys that came in maybe took it a wee bit more seriously. We saw a bit more grit, a wee bit more. Nobody was taking chances, but they were doing what they had to do, which was a totally refreshing, version of what we'd seen for the first half. So it'll be a mixture. It'll be somewhere in between. There's some things that were nice. There were some things that were a bit ropey. But it was hard to tell what you were going to get. A testimonial match was always going to be sort of, up and down, and there's never sort of anything really to take away from it.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think whilst I would, I agree. When the cold light today, you go testimonial. I said the same when it was 6-4 over in Japan. I was like, come on, tell me it's a pre-season friendly without telling me it's a pre-season friendly. Just look at the scoreline. But the one thing I suppose that conflicts me a wee bit is when it is now 4 days away for the season kicking off.
Yeah,
I just thought maybe that would, and it's Brendan's first game back at Celtic Park. I don't know why. I just thought it would maybe been a wee bit more intensified. But I actually think you're right. I think the attitude that the players took was very much of, we treat this for what it is. And what it is more minutes, more minutes in the legs, and it's a warm up, and not playing out with your sort of what is it that would say? Not playing out with you. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
I'd maybe in comfort zone. You're not
comfort zone. That's the one, Steve.
Guys
He's
are
here to
just
save
doing
the day.
what
Imagine if I'd been alone. But they were very much playing within their comfort zone because they were not wanting to put themselves under any sort of position where they could pick up an injury or a knock, and maybe having a wee bit of fun. Hatate was as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the real judgment begins this weekend. And if we start seeing loose passes like that again,
some of them were really bad.
And they did. As I said in the group chat, I felt his display was a wee bit self-indulgent, if I'm honest, and it's been very rare in the 19 months that Hatate's been here. I've been able to say that about his display, so he gets a pass. You know what I mean? It was a testimonial. Hopefully, that will be all that we've seen. Steve, I want to take your mind on obviously the scenario that occurred tonight in terms of the attendance. There was a lot of worry that this was going to be really, really poorly attended. Yeah. In the end, it didn't seem so. Notwithstanding that, though, obviously the glaring thing we'll point to here when we talk about this is the GB sort of perceived absence almost on the whole. Secondly, Brendan's first game back and not as much of an appetite for that to have sold out as we might have expected, because it is his first game back at Celtic Park.
Yeah.
When you consider what his record is at Celtic currently standing at from his previous reign, and you consider the status of this manager when we got him as well, I know many seem to point to this strange narrative that he wasn't highly rated down south. I think his stock is far higher now than what it was when he joined Celtic first time round. I think Celtic got a manager whose stock was higher because he's added trophies to his spell down south. 2 fifth-place finishes with Leicester City is no mean feat. Everyone down south worth their salt knows that he was the only manager who didn't spend a penny in the transfer window until the final day of that window last summer. He was allowed one player that cost over a quid, and that combined with player sales, etc., and a squad that maybe stagnated a bit is always going to lead to a bit of a nightmare. But his efforts throughout the last 3.5 years lead me to thinking Celtic got a proper manager here, and one with real Celtic history. I don't know. It feels a wee bit like there's an underwhelmed response. Wes, we'll talk about the GB secondly. Let's do it that way. But did you expect maybe just a wee bit of more furore over the excitement over the return of Brendan?
I'll be honest, and it's certainly no disrespect to James Forrest, right? I want to make that abundantly clear before anybody jumps on it. As we said in the chat, I think it unfortunately, for whatever reason, James Forrest, like when we've done the Forrest retrospective and stuff, Bustalgia, he's very much Marmite, chalk and cheese, and there's been very few modern players that have really divided our support quite like James Forrest. And I think that regardless it being the first game back for Brendan Rodgers, it was less about Rodgers, more about Forrest, and I think that was the yardstick. There's also other varying things, being a testimonial where there's not like on the season book and folk aren't getting it for free. See if it was one of your standard, we've seen seasons gone by, it was a friendly at home to West Ham and it was on the season book, you might get more of a buy-in. But I think a lot of people, it was the Tuesday night, it was the player that want to turn out for the player, yada yada. It transpires it's on Atletico's YouTube channel. So if you were sitting there and thinking, I might go to that, and you find it's on for the nothing, these all kind of affect it. So I don't really think there was too much to do with that. I don't think that was necessarily a reflection on Brendan Rodgers. Is it a reflection on Forrest? Perhaps, as I said, that's just for whatever reason he sort of splits the fan base in that regard. But I also think as well, the opposition, unless somebody can enlighten me, Athletic Bilbao just seemed like somebody was picked out of thin air. Usually when you get a testimonial, there's some sort of connection either between the clubs, like a rivalry, like your classic Liverpool or your Man United thing, or if it's, Larson, Sevilla, there's something tangible that connects the two.
Was there a famous game between the two, Steve? Sorry,
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. That's what I'm saying. Maybe somebody can tell me.
Billy McNeil's era.
Aye.
And that was the sort of loose, and I would agree with you, by the way. When I seen the name, I thought, And I think if you have to try and join the dots, mate, kind of that defeats the purpose already. So I do hear you.
It turns into more like a friendly that's been clipped on. That's a testimonial. As I say, I'm sure that somebody that's got more deeper knowledge of it as an older thing will be able to correct me. But what I mean is he's never really had, in my opinion, a game or a team that he's really shone against that you can go, that's the James Forrest game, that's the James Forrest performance. And that's where it doesn't really kind of marry up. It was just a game and it was clipped on. So I think it's a combination of factors that turned out the unfortunate turnout, to be honest.
Yes, that is definitely one aspect of it. I mean, again, I'm looking at it just from the Rodgers prism, and I'm going, I think, in 2016 we could have said we were playing East Stirling, and I think there'd have been 60,000 folk there. I remember I went to the Lincoln Red Imps game. Remember, in fact, we lost the first leg over in Gibraltar, and I went to that. It was packed. I mean, it was pretty much a sellout if it wasn't a sellout. Do you know what I mean? It must have been very close to. I mean, that is as Drosser a level of opposition, albeit I understand the competitive fixture. I just wonder if people are maybe underestimating, I think, the magnitude of this appointment. And I can't emphasise enough. This is one that I watched, 2 years ago, and I found it baffling, the level of excitement on Ange 2 years ago, albeit hindsight's a wonderful thing. But at that point in time when he got the job, I found the fan excitement to be of a higher level than what it is right now for a bona fide, guaranteed, successful manager at Celtic, because he's done it before, and he's done it in the most competitive league. I couldn't understand the hype at the time 2 years ago, and willing to be proved wrong. Bilbao presented Billy McNeil with the one club man thing. They only signed players from that's right.
So as we said, it's a kind of tenuous link. It is what it is. It's loose, but whatever.
So what I would say is, I just find it baffling that this appointment hasn't brought that same sort of excitement, and I wonder if we're going to live to regret that, because what you do need, and I know I said guaranteed when Kimchi Strider, I didn't mean guaranteed, it was a poor choice of words, but he's someone that comes with a far higher percentage of likelihood of success than what Ange did. That's a better way of putting it. Now, with that in mind, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot here as a support, because no matter who the manager is, we all need the buy-in. Brendan spoke about the Holy Trinity the first time he was here. You need the fans on board. And if we're really all obsessed about this team doing well and not individuals, then I don't know. I hope that the excitement starts picking up a wee bit quickly and a wee bit soon. Let's talk about the corner of the stadium that's obviously the most glaring when it's
Yep.
empty, Steve. I've got a wee question for you as well, and I'm not sure if you know the answer to it. But if they're not taking up the offer of a ticket, and I generally don't know the answer, this is just curiosity. If they're not taking up the option of their ticket, and this was not part of the season ticket book, I know that, so you had to buy the ticket individually. If they're not taking their option, does it go to general sale? Or have they got to register in particular because of the safe standing nature of that area of the stadium?
I'm glad you asked that, because I saw that coming up. And I can say categorically that pre-season against West Ham, I had a ticket and it was in the standing section. So unless it's changed since then, you'll see, if you follow me on Twitter, there's a picture of me with sunglasses on and I'm in the standing section and it's dead all around me because of the West Ham friendly. And that's where my ticket happened to be.
Okay.
So unless that's changed since basically, season 1 of the Ange era, then I don't know is the answer. But certainly at that time, I had a ticket for the pre-season and that's what it was.
2 years ago?
Yes. So first Ange season against West Ham, we get absolutely scudded. I was at that.
That's
and
right.
then my ticket was given to me and it was in the standing section. So as I said, I don't know if that's changed. I saw a lot of people talking about it. Again, I'm sure there'll be people better versed that will be able to, cast their mind back. But the chat is they don't do charity matches and they don't do testimonials. Again, I don't know if that is the case. But at the same time, I think it's kind of ironic you want to do us charity stuff, but don't support charity games or don't support testimonials when the money's going to charity. So whatever. But yeah, listen, it is what it is. At first, I'll be honest, it's until it's really confirmed one way or another, I dare say we'll get a statement because that's what happens, isn't it? But
yes.
On face value of it, I thought, I was like, I hope this isn't some sort of petty protest type thing.
Well, this is where the debate begins, isn't it? Because there's going to be two sides on this, and absolutely, if they want to go, we ain't forgetting easily what happened before, Brendan, there's an argument to be like that. I don't personally subscribe to it, but maybe, just maybe. Personally, do you know why I think they're doing it? It's because there is a line that this bus has used, and it has used it for 20 months. Don't back down, double down. And I just feel they went so far against them, and some of the stuff that was like some of the banners and that, we all know we have a bridge too far, right? There's no getting away from that. And when you went too far, you don't want to then go, actually, we didn't mean any of it. It's a big, that's a huge, huge way to retract your point of view or your position, right? So maybe there is a bit of doubling down right now and going, well, we had to make a standstill to say we've not forgotten, And I'm hoping if all that's affected by that is a testimonial or friendly, albeit you're right, the charity aspect seems to go out the window conveniently. But notwithstanding that, for the Celtic point of view, for the team's point of view, if it's only going to be for a testimonial or friendly that we see that sound. What I can't fathom is how the stand stays empty, and I would love to know. There we go. Jared Mullen comes in. Hopefully he's going to help me here. I'm in the standing section. You cannot buy general sale for friendlies anymore. Safety shit changed last season, but Europe Cup games is okay now. Well, Jared, I'm glad you said confusing, mate, at the end. That is extremely confusing. Absolutely bizarre. And do you know what? It is one of those ones where they're entitled to part with their money as and when they see fit, Steve, with the same way as anyone else. And I'm not in a position to judge anyone who doesn't go to Celtic Park, right? Let's get that real as well. I'll get that right out there now. Not my gift to judge anyone whether they go or whether they don't go. I have a feeling it is to do with the appointment. I mean, when we speak about we just don't do these type of games, I think there's been one testimonial since the Green Brigade were around. I think it was Scott Brown against Ireland. And if I were to hazard a guess, I would guess most of them were at it. That's just my takeaway from it. You can correct me if I'm wrong if anyone's watching from said fan group, and I will apologise straight away. But my hunch is Scott Brown's testimonial against Ireland. They were there. I don't think there's been another testimonial in that time. This one, James Forrest donating the full kitty to charity. Now, no one can take away what they do for charity, so it doesn't add up again why they wouldn't attend this one and make it. And in such a group context as well, Steve-O. This is a unified decision. This isn't a few of them going, Ken, what, I've got work tomorrow. Because just the law of averages would mean it'd be more patchy. Do you know what I mean? The amount of people there. That was pretty much unanimous, that decision, which would lead to me to a discussion beforehand to arise at that.
Yeah, no, it's very much, no matter what anyone wants to say, it's a conscious decision. I believe the boys weren't there also, and it's in unison. It's a well methodical. As we know, everything they do is it's as one. They act as one, they think as one, they move as one.
Yes.
And it's very much been a case of, I don't know, it's email, however they discuss the fucking Mars. You're over to this game. Because as you said, there would have been folk that have been there and says, listen, I just want to likewise caveat that and make it abundantly clear that, as I've said a million times over when we've had discussions about the Green Brigade, I have highlighted time upon time about the great work that they do, charity work, displays, blah, blah, blah. I've hammered that home. So my opinion is based on whatever I'm getting asked at the time, what my opinion's on, whatever the issue is at the time, and that's how I always treat it. I'm not going to hound them, and equally I'm not going to just blindly support them or blindly slate them. I think, as I say, if they're saying about the charity thing, it almost belies the good that they do with charity. It's completely going to it, and I know that folk could point the finger at you and I and say, well, you guys weren't there, you're watching YouTube tonight. Not everyone can be in a position to do it. Me personally, my missus is working, I'm being the parent tonight, I can't go, right? So it's as simple as that. Had I been off, would I have considered going? Yeah, absolutely, right? Because it comes back to this sort of thing that whether I think James Forrest is a legend, a great or whatever, the guy's put a lot of time into Celtic, and I would always like to see any testimonial get a good turnout. I mean, I went to fucking Peter Grant's testimonial, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean? So it's like, and Peter Grant was a great guy, but guess what? Real respect's real. And if you can support one of your own, then let's do it. And I just felt that he personally deserved some form of turnout. Whether the Green Brigade collectively think he's a great player and like him or don't, I don't know. But I do think it was a wee bit. It probably, I think, would have hurt him, to be honest, when he went out and he saw that big empty corner. He would have probably liked to see some sort of banner or something in tribute to him. That, again, you could say, well, elsewhere in the stadium could have done it. Absolutely. Right? We've said this time, Mark said about the whole singing thing, we can't be dependent on them. Equally, can't be dependent on put a display. But it would have been nice, would it have not?
But it has though transformed, Steve-O. This is where I find that debate interesting, because whether we like it or not, it's awkward at Celtic Park if another area of the stadium starts singing now. It's strange. Yeah. It feels a bit weird. And that is, maybe it's not their problem. It's not their fault that they could only say they're bringing noise and colour to the ground. Totally agree with that. But for whatever reason...
I've just saw a comment flying there, and I just want to throw it to you. Cal McGregor, if he gets a testimonial, they're not turning up to that.
Well, they don't do testimonials.
Yeah, I know. So there we go. If that... so I don't know.
My point of view, Steve-O, is, and me and you love we've been pretty excited about this appointment, it'd be fair to say, right? Since it happened, I think we've been quite similarly poised in terms of our zen sort of approach to how the transfer windows went so far. We've had good debates about Brendan's body language and the words that he said in the interviews so far in the group chat. And I think me and
we're talking one the other day, yeah.
We were on quite a similar page throughout the summer with that. So when we're clearly looking at this from, is he the best manager Celtic could get right now? Yes, he is. To me, don't cut your nose off and spite your face at this moment in time. I think we wanted to go into this season with a real momentum behind us. Now, the Champions League qualifiers are a blessing that they're not there. So this was the one opportunity we had to give that team like an insight as to what we're going to look like this season as a club. And that starts from the stands, then to the management team, then to the players on the pitch. And I don't know. I just think moments like that kind of take your eye off it a wee bit, more than you would like it to.
Yeah, No, I mean, that's the thing. You know, as we say, we've been very positive, and I've often spoken. Folk don't like it when it came down to Brendan Rodgers' appointment. Whatnot, I was very much, as we say, is about, is he the best man? I was treating it very much through the business eyes and just saying, listen, feelings might have been hot, right? But I want us tooled up with the best. And, you know, that could be a player that fucked off and left us, like, you know, disappeared. The Merwife fell out with him. But see if they come back and start smashing in goals or doing whatever they do. Do you know what? See, as long as they give it their all and they're committed whilst they're there, that's good enough for me. And just to flip on, because we'll get around to performance, for example, Kwon, well, there was that alleged quote where he says, I'll become the best player at Celtic and then I'll move on. And everybody was up my arms about it. And I was like, do you know what? Is it misinformed? Is it foolish to have said it? Yeah. However, see if he plays like fuck when he's in that midfield and he does what he needs to do. I don't care. He could turn around and say every other Celtic player told me shite, and I would not care. See, as long as he puts in the graft when he's there, that's all that matters. And I think that's what sometimes, listen, we're fans, it's an emotional game, and you've got your right to want people as invested as we are. However, at the same time, all you can ask is, see if they do what's right for you when they're in situ. If they give their all and they produce results, just try and shelf your person. Nobody's saying you need to love them, but just get on board, show a wee bit of support.
And I think that's totally fair.
You know,
that's totally fair, Steve, with the way you've said that as well. I mean, if you want to talk about Kwon, I'm happy to, because he was more of a Kwon artist than the best player in Scotland. I don't know. I misquoted these phrases can come across, and maybe a poorer grasp of the language, and they could come over looking more ignorant or arrogant than intended.
yeah.
Maybe he's striving to be the best player in Scotland, and one day plays in the EPL, and it just gets snipped into, I will be the best player in Scotland. It could just be a turn of one word from Korean English that just completely changes the whole sort of point of view that Con was trying to make then. Albeit, I thought he was the most disappointing tonight, if I'm honest, on the part. I mean, he got the start, and I thought, fucking hell. And I think it was alluded to before the game. They said, you know, you must see a bit in Kwon, the fact he's getting the start, because this looks, you would think it'd be as close to maybe the first 11 you might see on at the weekend. But notwithstanding that, what I did see on the part was a player who was a bit all over the place, Steve. He didn't play like a typical holding midfielder. He was trying to almost be too busy. And the one thing about a holding midfielder is they kind of make it look like they're not doing a lot. Now, I know they cover a lot of the grass, but they read the game really well. So the holding role, the image you get when you think holding midfielders like Makalele's and things, Neil Lennon's, is that you don't see them popping up almost everywhere trying to like influence the game. They influence the game by what is the perceived lack of effort that they have to put in. Tonight, I'm not sure if he was trying over enthusiastic to impress. There is going to be a better in period here, by the way. This is not anyone slating him or anything like that. But
it comes back to what I said when we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about what kind of midfielder do we need in there to assist. And it was Hatate and McGregor. And I says, we need a Sergio Busquets type. I said, not obviously, forget the name. We're not comparing. I says, we need someone who's robust, that does the dirty work. He's busy, but just at what he needs to do. Win the ball, move the ball. And I thought that in the game in Ireland, when he had a wee bit of time, it's such a contrast, because I came away from that game. I wasn't bowled over, but I was like, he'll not get bullied. He looks quite strong. He looks quite robust. But tonight, it was something completely different. It was just this big gangly dinosaur running about, just trying to get fired at everything and doing mental stuff. And as I say, listen, I don't know if he's, as we said before, when it was first always getting to mountains, is he trying to overthink it? Is he trying to do too much? Is he trying to, impress, when really he just needs to sit in and do his job? I don't know, but I'm not going to judge him in a stupid friendly where he was doing mental stuff like trying to dummy the ball and all that. You know, I'd like to think there's more to his game than that. But certainly, I wouldn't expect him to start at the weekend. I'll put it to you like that. And I think if he was going to be quoted, I think his quote would be, "I'll be the third best midfielder in Celtic's B squad, and then I'll move on to play for East Kilbride." So I don't. You know, maybe he was misquoted because that's very much what I thought tonight.
Oh, brilliant, Steve. I fucking love that, mate. Right, let's get some questions in as well, because this show is Ask the Bus. Normally I do it solo, but Steve was feeling fit enough to come on, which I was delighted about, and I've not seen you in so long, mate, on the bus, because you're away on your holidays and stuff, so it's good. We can do it together, mate. Ask the Bus. And when it's Ask the Bus, as you all know, you can ask anything. You can talk about the football. If you ask a wee throwaway random question, I'll answer that too. I'm always for it. Whilst we wait on some interesting questions coming in, we need to talk. If we're going to talk about Quan, whoever it was it Pato in the Polymorphous in the comments? Polymorphous said the pros and cons were the Quans and O's. Or the O's and Quans today. Oh, I thought like fucking brilliant, Steve-O. I know you'd said about the work rate sort of thing, but it wasn't just the work rate. There was more quality in O's play tonight that I'd not seen last season, if I'm honest. I didn't think he had the finesse or the vision to play some of the passes that I seen him play tonight. He looked all round just a guy really at it, and not just it being this overwhelming enthusiasm and desire to do well. I thought I seen wee moments with the ball technique that he's using and things. I just thought, okay, he's looking more and more like a player to sort of maybe pin your hopes on a wee bit this season. And he's all action. He's all action. He can do the tracking back. He'll win the ball back. He'll win his fouls up the park. But not just that. See, when you start seeing him doing cross-field balls, 40, 50 yards on a sixpence, I started going, hold on now. Is that because I never seen that side to his game? I'll be honest. Between January and May, I didn't.
No,
but yeah, I was quite impressed, Steve-O.
As I said, obviously I've been away for a while, so just to quick fire some names and what I saw, what I've taken away from what I've been seeing. Yep, do you know what I think? I put in the group chat as a joke, is like, O might end up being our Kenny Miller. He really works hard and does a lot, but doesn't score goals. I hope that's not the case. I hope that he translates that work rate and combines it with goals. Actually, on that, I've got a mate who was, he's not on the O train, and they were talking about, looking across, and talking about Sam Lammers. It was, and I says, I can tell you right now, I says, O scored more goals than Sam Lammers this season, and I stick by that. What I want to see is, I do want to see these peripheral guys. Obviously, we got a hat trick out in Maeda, which was quite good, but through the middle. But I don't really want that, because that's sacrificing, he'll go out to the left or on the wings basically, and also with O, I want to see more goals. But yep, I was impressed. He looked quite robust. He's putting himself around, and he's got, he's clearly got a range of passing as well, which I quite liked. He looks a more controlled aggression as well. Puts himself about, but it's not in that kind of reckless way. He's really been positive, and I've also seen a big improvement in Abada. I think Abada looks a lot more physically stronger. He looks more athletic, and he looks like he's looking to win the ball more. People say that isn't his job, but he's now not waiting for the ball. If he loses the ball, he's trying to win it back. If he's not got the ball, he's trying to win it. Different. He was just waiting for the ball to come to him before. So they're two guys that I've seen something evolve in them, and we might touch on it. Bernabe, I am by no means, by the way, convinced he is the answer, but in that more traditional left wing back role, he looks more
as opposed to the inverted.
Yes.
I get you.
And he was putting in some very nice Tosh McKinley-esque balls. Dare I say it?
That's proper praise. That is proper praise. I mean, the one thing you've got to say is as well, when you looked at Bernabe in the inverted role last season, now I accept the easy argument to do is go, South America he's came from, not great success rate, South America to Scotland, you know what I mean? Players moving their young age. I know the off-field stuff with the, having a kid and, the driving stuff and all that. But that aside, he never looked like he was going to be an inverted fullback at any point.
No.
And that begs the question how they arose at a decision where that would be one of our biggest transfer outlays last summer, would be for a player that didn't fit Angie's system. You're right. I think he has looked better. I would say. I'm not going to, again, I share your view. I'm not overly excited. We'll see. We did predict that there would be one rough diamond, better diamond than a rough that Brendan might be able to shine up. So hopefully,
the only one I'm not having, and I'm seeing a lot of it still, is Scales the answer. Scales is not the answer, right? Scales is fourth or fifth. Fourth or fifth. Keep him hanging about, right? But I'm not having Scales as the answer, right? I'm just not having it.
Does Scale? Okay, let's very quickly, slightly expand on that. What I would say is, and you're probably right, he's not the answer going forward for the first team every week. Is he above Welsh and above Kobayashi though?
I think he's definitely above Kobayashi. Now, whether you think that he's good, bad, or indifferent, there was periods when he went to Aberdeen where, just be blunt about it, he looked dog shit. He looked absolutely horrendous. He looked every bit the League Ireland player, right? But then he came on to a wee bit of a game for them. He was never fully dependable. You couldn't, hang your hat on him. But he'd flashes. He was that kind of player that you would get 2 good games out of him, and then a shite game, then an alright game, then a decent. It was very, very much inconsistent. But against those kind of lower bracket teams, you can get away with it. Now, should we want somebody that you're getting away with it? Absolutely not. You don't want to get away with it. But what I mean is it's on a slightly more acceptable level to what I've seen for Kobayashi. Kobayashi just looked at a guy that was chasing shadows and didn't know what it was. At least Scales looked at a guy who was making mistakes, but he was trying something and it was going wrong. Kobayashi just looked like it was, the world was burning a lot around him. So it was, it's different. I think he's had a few bits of games where you'll probably see Rodgers have made some form of decision around him. He's gave him a lot more game time, whereas Kobayashi's been totally out of the picture, so I wouldn't expect to see him around, certainly not.
No, I mean, there's a lot of talk in the chat about Kobayashi out on loan. Steve, I don't share the view. I think it's just a cut of losses one for me. I don't see it. There's
he was free, was he not? So it costs nothing, really, does it?
It's not going to happen.
Usually these guys can work their way back. This is the interesting things I said before when we were talking Asian market signings. Typically speaking, guys for the Asian market, for some strange reason, they can always work their way back. A team will take them back. Whereas, if
Maeda
it's
Euro or Maeda did, didn't he? He was at Benfica, wasn't he, when he was 20?
So whether it's European market guys or South American guys, they're kind of harder. You're getting no money back on them. Yes. But for some reason, the Japanese guys, in that kind of market, China, South Korea, they always seem to manage. Somebody will take them back. So I wouldn't be worried about that.
Me neither, mate. I would say we'll go with Scales, I think, this season. As part of that first team squad. I think he'll be above Welsh as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Welsh left. I think Kobayashi, by the end of the window, they might just, find a way of paying up half his contract, whatever it is deal they can come up with. They can conjure up that makes financial sense, and he'll be on his way. Okay, it's going to be the question right now that we ask for the next 30 days, Steve. We may as well just take it first on the Ask the Bus. Robert Baker, thank you for jumping on the bus, Robert. I've not seen your name in the chat often before, if ever before, so welcome aboard, mate. And he says, goalkeeper, I think we need badly. Does anyone agree? Steve, I'll go straight to you. My folk will be sick of my views.
No, so I had a Twitter bust up with somebody over this.
Did you?
It wasn't even a Twitter bust up. Basically, somebody, I think it was I don't know if it was Boys View or something. He's always calling up somebody. But somebody put a comment on one of his posts talking about a goalkeeper, but they basically slated Joe Hart and says, terrible in Europe, terrible domestic. And I says, what a take. That's wild. I did caveat it and says, European, do I think we should improve? Is it a position we should improve? Yes, absolutely. But to say he's not good domestically is wild. That's what I said. They just focused in on that wee tiny bit that they wanted to argue about, which, was neither here nor there. I still stick by it. Domestically, can we again get away with Joe Hart? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is he going to do a job? Is he more than capable of doing a job? Absolutely. Do I think he's on the wind down? Yes, I do. Is it a position that we should be looking at? 100%. And I've said this, it's no secret. I don't think Siegrist is the answer. I don't want to see him anywhere near a Celtic team. I don't think Bain's the answer, but Bain's a good laugh, so we'll keep him about. Do you know what I mean? He's good for the boys, so get him. He's good. Plays good tunes, not in the dressing room probably. But no, I think we should be looking at a goalkeeper. Keep seeing the Croatian guy's name coming up. Now, listen, I don't know nothing about this, but maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Is he a goalkeeper that we could achieve?
He's a Croatian international. That's all that matters, Steve.
Is in a price range? Is it a price range that we should be able to achieve? Yes. Has he got the credentials from what I've seen? Absolutely. Is he someone that we should be looking at? Yes. However, what I'm not getting is where people join these dots, because it's just as if somebody went, he's available, he's shit hot, go and get him. I've never once saw an actual, credible, tangible link to say that Celtic are genuinely looking at him, other than fans doing what we all do and being amateur scouts and going, he looks fucking brilliant. Go and get him.
Anthony Joseph did.
Anthony Joseph, come on, my guy's always like 5 weeks late.
It's as good as I've got, mate.
I know. But, do you know what I mean? Listen, I'm not poo-pooing that. Is he a guy who I'd like to see us go for? Absolutely. All I'm saying is, I think all this excitement about us being linked with him, I've not heard or saw anything completely credible other than the likes of us, fan media or fan podcasts or whatever, fans with laptops saying we should go and get him, and putting the dots together. Oh, he's no signed for them, he's available. I've never once saw anything completely that looks solid to say we've submitted a bid, we've made an approach, we've done anything. It's basically just been fan hope. Now, as I say, to come back to it, is it a position I want to see us improve on? Yes, because we've always had historically a good goalkeeper. I think Hart fits into that, bracket. Has he maybe been a wee bit unfortunate with our European runs? Probably, because we've been in somewhat a wee bit of transition. But he is unfortunately now in the wind down. So Steve, moving forward, we do need something.
Why? See, just to go back to the Twitter thing that you kind of opened up your point with, it's something that really frustrates me in this realm that I find myself. I'm going into season 4 of my Celtic talking shite sort of hobby, if you like, right? This will be my 4th season doing it, man. And one of the things you realise is nothing can be in the middle. Everything has to be extreme. So if Joe Hart, you think you can improve on, that means you think he's shite. And it's like, no. I just think when I look at a squad in the summer, if like any manager would, you would identify positions you think realistically you could get a better option in for, and you would do that. It's not a slight on the person you're improving on necessarily. In some cases, it may well be, but certainly not all. No. Joe Hart falls in that category for me. Joe Hart's a guy who is steady enough. Can he be improved on? Yes, I'm sorry, he can be. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't need to be a hating or a massive sort of dent to the presence that Hearts had on this squad over the last 2 successful years we've had. Absolutely not. There's been loads of great moments, and I also think his calming influence around the rest of the team was massive. Magnified, actually, by when you look at Ibrox in January, when he made the initial fuck-up that changed that whole game. Because I think players looked up to him so much, Steve-O, that they went, because they're so much younger. I mean, they're a decade younger, if not more than that, a lot of these guys that are playing. So when they see him looking like he's flapping a bit, it has a total ripple effect. It actually has the polar opposite effect of what you have an experienced campaigner in for, because once you see the veteran looking a bit rattled, that rattles the younger players even more. So I think his impact on Celtic in the 2 years has been brilliant. Do I think we can improve on him? Yes. Doesn't mean he's shite. Doesn't mean he's not good. Doesn't mean that he's not had a great career. It's none of that stuff. But anyway, I think it'll be a position Brendan's identified as well, if I'm completely honest with you. Maybe Segrist and Bain had 45 minutes of fame tonight to try and make one last sort of smash.
And that's the thing, is seeing we talk about the goalkeeping position, what the options are at Celtic, there is no doubt, listen, it's definitely something that we could be improving on. Don't make no bones about that. I just think that, and I know it's not the answer, but what I mean is he better than what else is there? Well, of course he is. Of course he is. He's better than Segrist, and he's better than Bain, and I don't care what anybody says. I'd rather have him mistakes and all. I'd rather have him between the sticks and Bain or Segrist. Get into any game, let alone a European game. he's always been mistake prone, and goalkeepers always are. And the only thing I would say, and I don't want to, it's maybe belying what I'm saying, but I was a wee bit worried through the pre-season where some of these mistakes are popping up, and I was thinking to myself, is he getting into that Al McGregor phase for us? But it's, are these going to be more regular? And I don't know. I'd certainly hope not. We can talk about metrics, and I saw a few folk who will all know them on Twitter. I've looked at the shot metrics by him and all this pish, right, whatever. He was still part of probably the best defence record in the league. So, can we improve on it? Could he save more goals and could we see less? Absolutely. But he's kind of shielded by at least having good stuff in front of him. It would be a far more desperate situation if, that centre-half pairing was rat shit and the defence looked completely horrendous. But we should be looking at improving him. As I say, who it is going to be, I don't know. I would like it to be the Croatian guy because he certainly ticks all the boxes and he would be a real sort of statement signing. Is it going to be him? I don't know. I just need to see something more solid. But saying that, we signed a centre-half that nobody had heard until a few days before it happened. So, maybe that's just how we're going to do our business when it's Brendan signing.
Ask the Bus. Next question, Steve. Graham Terrell comes in. I'll take it on first and then I'll come at you, my man. And he's saying, on the signings, do you think there would still be people crying out for big name players if Postecoglou was still the manager? The signings that we've made are mostly all players he was already going to bring in, or he and the Celtic transfer department were already going to bring in. I would agree with that. I think there's an argument there, Graham. I think we also have to be fair. And I think there was many PMPs with me and Terry when we ended up in the second hour, Steve-O, which was always a bit of a car crash after a game. And we were discussing maybe just anything Celtic in general. And I think we just I think Terry quoted the line that, if it's not this summer, if they don't do it this summer, they'll never do it. And that when it came to making proper sort of strides in the transfer market, just because everything's teed up so nicely. Do you think that Postecoglou got more credit or more kudos, more patience when he signed a relative unknown than what a Brendan will? Yes, I think that's a subconscious acknowledgement that Brendan is accustomed to better standards of players. People don't want to hear that, but I believe that's the rationale behind that. When it comes to signing guys from the other side of the world, there's almost been an unfair narrative, I would say, Graham, that Brendan Rodgers couldn't possibly have heard of him. And I find statements like that a bit bizarre. He was quite quick, and we analysed the interview yesterday with Jonathan, and me and you had quite a lot of back and forth in the WhatsApp group chat, Steve-O. Brendan was quite clear to make it that, it was with his blessing that players were brought in, but they were club suggestions. I think there is an argument there that because of the strike rate he got initially, with Kyogo in particular, and then the January influx of Maeda and Atati, who, let's be honest, did really change the sort of landscape of what we associated our first 11 with, because Katati became a mainstay and Maeda became someone that was a problem almost because you didn't know whether he played in the left, the right, or through the middle, but he was always going to be in your discussion on whether he started the big games or not. And I think with that, he got a lot of credit in the bank. I wonder if when you actually look back at last summer's transfer window, I was accused, Steve-O, of being, a negative Norma and saying keep your eyes on the board. I didn't think it was a good window at the time, and I just listened to transfers and the valuations of them all. And I got a backlash for that. Now, when you look at this one, the theme seems to be Brendan hasn't been backed much this window. That completely contrasts with the vibe of last summer, where it was signings all for similar sort of pennies and pounds and pence that have been made this year.
Asking the question, would Ange Postecoglou get more leeway? Probably. I think that it's very much a split. What I mean is, see, when we look at how much money we happen to know is sitting there, there's this assumption that equals we're going to go out, we're going to flex the muscle, and by flexing the muscle, that means we're going to be spending large amounts of money. I think if Postecoglou was in situ, it would be more small amount signings, perhaps more. Maybe it might be 6 signings for talking sake, 6, 7 signings, but smaller amounts. And people would maybe come up with the argument of, trust him because he knows these markets, and they would just skip around that. I don't know what Ange Postecoglou's knowledge is of other European markets and stuff. I think he was responsible for signing Maddison at Tottenham. No, I don't. I just genuinely don't. So, people look at that down there and obviously swimming in different waters and they're spending more money. But he'll very much be, it'll be similar to what we've got. He'll be getting guys put to him, and, you put Maddison to most managers, they're probably going to say, aye, he's a wee bit of that. I think because Brendan Rodgers has a name attached to him and where he's came from, there is, as we've discussed, that assumption that means we mean business and we're going to sign bigger players. So it's contrasting based on who the person is. Rodgers is a higher caliber, a higher reputation, and used to dealing probably
an upgrade, Steve-o.
Exactly. So the assumption comes that means with an upgrade in manager comes an upgrade in caliber of player. So yes, Postecoglou would absolutely get more leeway. People would just eat up whatever the signings were and just go, trust him because, listen, he's done this so far. Whereas if they come in under Rodgers, even Rotsky, for example, people will be going, it's 4 million, but still, could have been 6 million. So, he can't really win. He's in a wee bit of a rock and a hard place himself. But it was positive, that interview we spoke the other day. He says going to be our folk coming in. He said he gets the final say on them, and he said it's a two-way street. So I would like to think, as we've said, as time winds down, within maybe the next 2 weeks, we'll see something a bit more tangible, with a bit more of that Rodgers sort of fingerprints on it. But I think fans also need to temper, and I know we had a chat here, we were talking about the lofty ideas of 10, 12 million, which we could still achieve because he said 15 million.
He didn't rule out, did he?
If you want to play devil's advocate, it could be anything under 15 million. But
exactly.
What I mean is I think you'll probably find that we'll get signings more in the bracket of that Rotsky sort of 4.5, 5, maybe up to 6, but a few more of them. I'm all right with that.
Steve, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you feel he was? I think he's very good with words, Brendan. Very clever how he lets you read between the lines, and I find these interviews far more endearing than Angie's. I've got to be honest, right? And that's again not after the event. I just do. I find them. You learn a wee bit more from it. Yeah, what Johnny, is the whiskey?
It's a Lagavulin 16 year. It's very nice.
Very good, mate. That is proper. Oh, nice. I'm on a vintage strawberry and lime dragon soup because I'm 35 years old, having a midlife crisis already. But with regards to the Rocky one, he didn't say Rocky's name. He just said when I first came in at the club, there were signings that they were wanting to make anyway. Obviously, I had to give them my blessing, which I like that. And then he says the last 1 or 2. I think he said something like the last 1 or 2. He means the last one. Obviously, I was involved in the process from the start. That's his way of being like, look how much I'm like total like on side with the board stuff. That Rocky has been on his list because Rocky played for Legia Warsaw against Leicester about 12 months ago. That is a Brendan Rodgers production, that signing. But he has given them the share of the credit that he's wanting to, because he is right now on a PR mission to show he has learned from his previous mistakes of Terminados, of Hushved, etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Rocky is the first one that we can see that is going to be of that ilk. I think there is an argument to say there might just be 4 more, 5 million pound buys. Mm-hmm. But I also wish that people listen to what he says. When he says 15 to 20 million, that gives us a hell of a lot of scope here for another 9 million Edward. Jonathan highlighted it so well last night when he said Edward was nearly, or could be potentially in the bracket Rodgers is talking about, half the price that Rodgers is referring to.
Yeah.
If we signed a £9 million player before the window, we'd all be fucking excited about it. So I think,
absolutely.
I think in public, he's very much on a, we're all in harmony point of view. I think his ambition behind the scenes will not have wavered whatsoever.
No.
This is what got him to the level he is, Steve-O. I'm going to bring up another comment to you, pal. I've got Paul84 who's came in. He's saying, all right, lads, he's enjoying the discussion as always. Well, Paul, we enjoy having you on the bus, my man. What's your thoughts on Tiago? Do you know he got renamed? He changed his birth certificate name to Tiago Home. I think he's Odin Home, and he's now Odin
Tiago,
Home.
wasn't he?
He added Tiago to it, mate. He thought he looked quite tidy in the ball. Early thoughts on him?
Again, he's had brief outings.
I've not seen enough either, I'll be honest.
I can't. I'd be lying here. I think that Kwon, Holm, both of them, when they've dropped into midfield, they've just been there. They've just been a shot that the balls occasionally came to. And that comes to me a wee bit with just the nature of pre-season. I'll judge them more when, I think, as we've always done, even for an early stage, let's be honest, right? I know you want to get a momentum up, you want to start winning games, right? But there'll be certain games that you can chuck somebody into your first game in the cup, for example. Probably going to fire somebody into that.
Yeah.
So that's my eldest eye. But so you'll maybe get thrown into some of these sort of peripheral kind of lesser opposition games in domestic or cup, and then I'll start to judge them because they'll get stuck in a wee bit more. They'll probably put themselves a bit more, and they'll probably look more at themselves. In these pre-season games, as we've said a million times, it's all about getting fitness in the legs, getting a run out, getting used to working, and seeing how other folk go. So underwhelming on both, but not because I don't think they're good or going to be potentially good, just because it's the nature of pre-season. I think Holm, some tidy touches, looked as if he wasn't shy to want to get the ball, but again, done what he had to do without being particularly remarkable or piss poor. He just sat in the middle. He just done a job. So I don't really have an opinion, if I'm being honest, on either of them.
That's fair, Steve. We will move on to our final talking point, because I think that's absolutely fair, mate. But yeah, a lot of love coming in from home in the live chat, though, so that's always good to see. Stevie Kenny, and he loves to stir the pot a bit, and we'll have a wee bit of spice before we finish up the show, because Steve-O, it is getting down to the nitty-gritty, and the mind games might begin. I think Brendan's mind game is, look how calm, look how collected I am, look how unfazed I am right now. That, to me, that 8-minute interview on Sky would have put the shitters up me if I was a Rangers fan. I'd have watched it going, he's too in control. Do you know what I mean? How come he's not the one nervy? He should be thinking he's coming back. And I think Brendan just looked totally composed and well aware of the task ahead. However, TikTok Todd can't help himself, mate. He's did a wee photo today, and he's managed
Was that real? Was that genuinely real?
He squeezed a wee 56 in his shots, I believe. That was the... I mean, and I don't think it's the first time. I think there was obviously plenty when he was on pre-season with the badge kissing's fine and all that stuff, but I think he's trying to oversell it a wee bit right now, because he's getting heat from us, so he wants to oversell to the Rangers fans his staunchness right now, and he's getting a lot of staunch points, and fair to him, because he is, again, it's his first ever pre-season cup win. He's not won the pre-season cup yet, so it's another medal for him to add to his collection of 0. With the 56 in the shots, it made Stevie Kenny scold himself when he saw tea. Whether it's real, whether it's not, I think it's undeniable. There's a bit of an attitude that is coming from someone like him right now. Is there a bit of deflection there? Does it stimulate the Celtic players? I don't think so. Does it stimulate us as a fan base? Probably. We're in an era of bookmarking, Steve-O, and I know you're partial to the odd bookmark yourself.
I've got a folder and it's called For Future Embarrassment. It's been going for many a season. It's already got 14 files in it. So, yeah, do you know what? I like it because I just like to slide a wee grenade into the room. So,
is it a case of, we've seen this movie before, where the likes of a Cantwell maybe getting a wee bit ahead of themselves? They in their minds, they pumped us 3-0 at Ibrox in a nothing game, but it meant something to them, and that is when they had to step up. They did it. From our point of view, you had to step up. the game before that we played you, and the game before that, and the game before that, and you didn't. Is there a wee bit of like know your history here as well? We've seen Joey Barton make mistakes like this in the summer before as well, where he's the the big I am, and then when it comes to actually getting the job done, that's where we look to our Callum McGregors of the world. That's where we look to the fridge. That's where we're going to be looking at wee Kyogo, who's the moments of magic, and we'll find out just how long a Todd Cantwell can hang in this league, because the scrutiny he'll be under by bringing situations like this. I think the 56 one is genuine. And there's been other moments over the summer where he's drawn attention to himself as well. And of course, don't get me wrong, he's probably the target of unfair abuse as well. I like to be balanced. And there probably is a lot of stuff that's unfair towards him as well. It just crosses that line, and like in terms of that's a bit homophobic and things like that. And I'm not really into all that shit, mate. But notwithstanding that, what we find out is a player's mettle in this country. Now, you might not find their true ability, Steve-O. You might find that a lot of players have the ability to play in the SPFL. Loads of candidates. Don't tell me Joey Barton couldn't have played here to a good level. Of course he could. Did he have the mettle for it, though? Turned out he crumbled in it, mate. And many have and many will. And sometimes it's better to get some trophies in the cabinet before you start maybe playing to the gallery in the manner Todd Cantwell has. It does make the summer a wee bit more fun, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, the one thing I would say is, right now, I know it's easy for us and maybe to certain quarters of your fan base, right? It would be easy for us to sit here as a Celtic podcast and Celtic fans and just say, all our players are shite and they're all fucking idiots and they're this and that, right? And I've had this conversation with many, friends, family, and I was like, see, whether you like it or not, Todd Cantwell's a good player, right? Let's not kid ourselves on. He's a good player, right? And he fits into that category of, we sit there and laugh at all these wee stupid things. And is the dancing and all that stuff on TikTok a bit of a redneck? Well, it's like Jesse Lingard and all that part, right? It's, but it's the modern young footballer, and that's the way it is. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is there. But as a footballer, is he a good player? And is he probably one of, if not possibly the best player at Rangers right now? Absolutely. And it would be ignorant to say otherwise. Is he going to make an impact for them? Personally, I think he will. I think he is what they wanted Ryan Kent to be. I'm yet to be proven wrong. I know he's maybe had a wee bit of a flash in the pan. He played the games against us and he didn't really turn up, and they had a wee sort of cameo good, final game when it didn't really mean anything. But he'll be fully the, the confidence for his fan backing and that last performance, and he'll be fully the sort of giddies and all that, and he's perfectly entitled to do that. Will he kick on and be continually good for them? I'm going to predict and say, he will. Do you know what? Fans just need to deal with it. He's going to be one of those guys like a Morelos that will pop up and he'll score goals and you'll fucking hate him, because he'll run away and he'll be dancing and the lobby all over.
Sucking his thumb and shit like that.
And that's what's going to happen. So let's not be ignorant to it. Everybody's got a player they dislike for whatever reason it may well be. He could be their best player all season. See, if he doesn't win anything, it doesn't matter. So that's where you've just got to draw it back. Rangers will have good players. Let's look at Kolak, for example, last season. Started at a house on fire. Didn't think he was a great player, but he was putting the ball in the net. That's probably what you're going to get. And that's, fans just need to eat that. So I think, is it going to put a fire in our bellies? Probably not. I think that we're that long in the tooth now. We've seen, as you say, guys come and go that have said the big I am. And will he maybe get found out in some of the more physical games? Absolutely. He is lightweight. He's been going down against Motherwell. He'll be playing European
teams.
Diving in pre-season, yada, yada. But again, you've got to air that with caution, because that can come back to haunt you. Everybody will say, he won them penalties, he won them free kicks, he's a diving bastard, he's this and that. But if we remember, it came back and bit Morelos. Too many, too often. You don't get some stuff. So he needs to sort of really find himself, and he needs to be sensible with how he wants to be as a player. Do I think he's going to make a difference whereby he's going to win them games and get up games by the scruff of the neck? No, I don't. I think he'll very much be a flash in the pan and he'll have his low points, and I actually predict he'll end up getting injured. But I think he will be one of the better players, and fans just need to get on board with that. But as I've said, regardless, folk have spoken all these signs they've got. It's very well signing these people. They've got to play together. And again, I've watched most pre-season games, including games of Rangers, and I've got mates that are Rangers supporters, like friends, whatever, and they've all said the exact same thing. Rangers scored like 5 goals or something, 5-6 goals in pre-season. 4 of them were penalties. There's not been a lot of joined up good play. You know, there's not been a lot of good joined up players. So it's very well them signing all these guys. They've got to play, and that's the difference. So I'm not worried of any of the guys that they've signed. I'm genuinely not.
Steve, one of the reasons that there's a few questions coming in and go, why are we talking about Rangers and stuff like that? And I know folk will say that all season. I'll always talk about the enemy at some point. You know, like that's just what you do, in my opinion. I don't mind talking about, you know, our rivals or whoever it is that they want to, you know, we're going to be competing against. I think Cantwell is the perfect teacher's pet for Mickey Beale. I think he set the precedent for this aloof arrogance for achieving the square root of fuck all. And I think that will be what stemmed from that is he likes that type of thing. I think it's all bluster. I think the actual reality is we'll be up against a team that will be getting the ball to Tav, as David Martindale called him, and whipping crosses in is at the earliest point possible to 3 or 4 of their 6-foot players. Maybe with someone like Cantwell with a wee bit of guile, a wee bit of technique, he can loft the ball forward from a different position. But I think it will be uncreative football we're against. And the reason I bring it up is I just think right now when I'm contrasting and comparing things like we silly gimmicks for likes, you know, with 56 and stuff, and I contrast and compare that with our manager right now, who I don't think everyone is universally on board with from our end, which I find bizarre. I look at his demeanour, and he seems strictly business yesterday, Steve-O. That's what I'm trying to get across, is let you have your pre-season wee battles for likes on TikTok and on Instagram and things like this. Nobody cares, mate. When it comes to business, we let Brendan Rodgers have a Sky Sports interviewer in-house at Celtic Park asking pertinent questions that I thought were actually really direct and really well made that you will not be allowed to do at Mordor. You just won't be allowed to ask questions like that to Mickey Beale because firstly, he'd be a stuttering, stammering mess. Secondly, he'd probably slip up and give the game away about they've had to borrow or something like that to actually spend the money. And thirdly, they wouldn't do that because they get banned. Whereas we had our manager under the caution wee bit with the questions and batting them back with expertise, professionalism, and as I say, and a cool, calm demeanour that I think should be sending warning signs to them that this season business is about to pick up.
You know, mate, we spoke about that. We spoke about that interview and we said about how it can be perceived as boo the board and, you know, tin pot and we're doing this and that. And I said the exact same page as you, where I says I thought it was a very controlled, it was a very calm, collected and calculated interview that he'd done. He was getting asked some pretty tough questions, if we're being honest, uncharacteristically tough for Sky Sports one-on-one.
It was, I agree, but I liked it, Steve. Did you not think it was a fair interview?
But I thought that, listen, it's chalk and cheese, and we've said this before, the air of professionalism, even, you know, Rodgers, you know, Postecoglou, Beale, you know, it's night and day. Rangers have always got to talk a talk. They've always got to stir up, you know, a sort of siege mentality and we're coming and we're all this kind of stuff. That's just what they do. And their players will buy into that. And, you know, we've probably seen a million times over about, you know, Jota left because they fear Cantwell and Beale and Postecoglou. No, they didn't. They left for money. Big fucking bag loads of money. That's what they left, right? Sure. Nobody's scared of any of your signings. Nobody's scared of whatever you're doing or you're saying. And the likes, it's just nonsense. It's just kicking up a narrative. And we've seen that. You know, it's like, oh, you know, Cantwell's got Sutton on strings. No, he doesn't. You know, it's nonsense. Celtic conduct ourselves quietly, professionally, and we ultimately do what we need to do on the pitch. And as I say, if the Narotsky signings anything to go by, signings will come. And now that they're going to be not legacy signings, you're probably not going to see them coming. these ones that have come in before, for example, the boy that was the winger, is it Yang? He was protracted because folk knew that was happening and there was a wee bit more in the media. Nawrocki just came out of nowhere, and that's what we'll get. Whereas Rangers look at the Dinigo thing, well, I think we're going to get him over the line and Cervantes and all that. I just want to talk constantly, tell you
I was saying yesterday, Steve.
They seem busy to build up anticipation, excitement. Celtic don't need to do that. And I would say any of our fans that are sitting there with a nervousness disposition is just, not blindly trust. Always, have eyes in the back of your head if you can. But if your manager's looking that calm on camera under a wee bit of pressure,
totally agree with that, mate. I am on board with that.
Take that as you find it. He's calm for a reason. And I know he's just in the door and folk would say, well, he's not going to rock the boat. But he would give you wee subtle hints if something was amiss.
He's not a big... the one thing about Brendan is, if he was to be your key witness in a trial, I would pick him every fucking time. He has got the poker face, mate. He could go in the box and do the job, right? Whereas Mickey Beale, if he was asked 15 to 20 million pound players, he's the type of guy to go, if we want a 50 million pound player, I just go and buy him. That's what we can do, right? And he is that stupid he would do that. Anyway, it's been a brilliant night tonight on the bus. It's been a bit of impromptu. It's been very, very late. We've had 300 basically live the whole time in the bus. I can't thank enough. We are now a channel with 4,000 subscribers plus. So a massive thank you for helping us get there. Huge thanks to you, Steve-O, for coming on. Back to fitness, back for your holiday, ready for the new season. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, I know you're excited to know Terry Robb makes his comeback this weekend for the BNP. Bhoycie versus Robb resumes this season, and it will carry on, as you know, throughout with a lot of back and forth between me and my second favourite Irishman, honestly. Anyway, on that note, we will leave you. Steve-O, pleasure, mate. Thanks very much. Good to have you back. Everyone in the chat, have a good night. Be good. The season comes soon.